And the pandemic allowed for some time to kind of reflect on that and, just kind of thinking about what is it exactly that I like to do? What can I watch on YouTube for hours and not realize?
It's a good question.
It's a great one to kind of ask yourself, what are you passionate about?
Yeah.
You know? And it wasn't until a friend brought up, you like drugs.
Founded in 2017, StartWell is Toronto's independent hub for innovators to collaborate. Our podcasts relate perspectives from the world's most diverse urban population to reflect unique insights into global business, media, and culture. For this, the 50th edition of the StartWell Podcast, which is quite a nice milestone. It's funny because I don't think about it often enough. We start recording these pieces and it's just nice to have the conversations that it goes and goes and goes. And it's been 50 conversations in this series since 2017. So for this auspicious occasion, I'm sat today in studio here on King Street West at StartWell with Stefany Nieto, the founder or co-founder?
Co-founder.
We're going to hear about who else is part of your posse. Co-founder of a lovely brand. Well, no, it's not just Mojo. This product that I'm holding in my hand. It's Gwella.
Yes.
So Gwella Mushrooms Inc. is what's on the package. Gwella is the brand. I would love to hear everything about your company, but first, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and I love your color choice of outfit today.
Thank you. I was sick of blending into everything else in Toronto.
And I'm so used to it. People show up, they might watch one or two of these episodes before they come on camera, and they're always seeing me wear the same black shirt all the time, and it's a black studio, and everything's black, and it's just kind of dark in winter. Color is so nice to see, so it's refreshing. Okay, so let's talk about this company that you have and who you founded it with. Let's start there.
Yeah, so, during the pandemic, my previous life, I used to build greenhouses in the Arctic, and I did that for about 8 years.
8 years?
Yeah, it was my first baby, and I had been doing it for so long. My personality, who I was so tied up with what Green Igloo was, and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, wow, I've been doing this for a long time, and I don't think I have hobbies anymore. I don't know.
That's what happens when you're an entrepreneur, right?
It is. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't. Now I have more boundaries in place. But at the time I didn't. And so I was really just kind of figuring out what's next? Is there something next? What do I want to do? What do I want to be when I grow up? And the pandemic allowed for some time to kind of reflect on that and, just kind of thinking about what is it exactly that I like to do? What can I watch on YouTube for hours and not realize?
It's a good question.
It's a great one to kind of ask yourself, what are you passionate about?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a friend brought up, you like drugs. It's a passion of yours, not just doing them, but learning about them and really. It's
funny how Canadians can say that just as
absolutely.
Off the cuff, right?
Totally, especially now. I feel pre-pandemic was still a little bit more taboo, but ever since, I feel psilocybin has really picked up steam and it's more of an open conversation. But even back then, I was just yeah, that's just a passion of mine. And at the time, I was how does one create a career in drugs without being an underground dealer? Which I did consider for a split second, but I was not exactly the road I want to go down. And so I started kind of just reaching out to people in cannabis. If anybody was going to know anything about the space, it was going to be those guys. And I eventually got connected through a mutual friend to my current co-founder. He kind of, same kind of deal. He wanted to build a psychedelic brand. We had our third co-founder who actually had a formula that was more of a natural Adderall, but we wanted to tweak it and make it more of a microdose. Our whole thing was accessible psychedelics because psychedelics, we don't know when, if they will be legalized. And so, yeah, we kind of just like we didn't even meet in person, going back to like not, seeing people in person.
This is, and paint the picture of when this was.
So this was like May, June 2020.
Okay, right away.
Yeah, we met like over Zoom probably around that time. Then we negotiated co-founder, like equity without having met each other, without even really knowing each other, just going off of like a mutual friend that knew both of us relatively well. And we've been in the startup ecosystem, so we had friends of friends who like knew each other. Negotiating kind of the deal and ideating on what we were going to build. And then we started building. Mojo was a lot of iterations from that original formula and making it more into a microdose. Testing it at home, with friends and family. Like, how did that make you feel? Were you able to do X, Y, Z? And then starting to hire a team. But again, all of that was remote. I didn't even meet Pete, my co-founder, until about 6 or 8 months in, like in person. And I didn't meet our third co-founder, Daniel, until the following summer.
But you guys were all signed up and on paper. Inked.
Yeah.
You're inked.
Yep.
So what's the tie that binds? Like between the three of you, there's obviously the shared interest in, let's call it, altered states of consciousness?
I'd say. That's a great way to put it.
And so how did that so quickly evolve into product development? Who's already playing with the stuff?
So our third co-founder, Daniel, he had created the original formula, I guess the base formula, like a decade ago when he was in university to get through finals. So it was something that it was just kind of on the back burner, just there.
And what was that story? Why did he create that?
He needed, some support focusing, really, like being able to focus, not wanting to get hooked on Adderall, like a lot of, college, university students do. So that was really the focus. He's also a biochemist, so, he had
so he was at school for biochemistry.
Exactly. So
and
he had
was
the
like,
background.
hey, I don't need to take this drug and get stuck on it, so.
Exactly. So he made a natural option, I guess. Yeah. And so for us, I mean, it's funny because...
That's interesting. And did it work right away? Like it helped him get through school?
Oh, yeah.
And he sold it to his friends?
No.
And they dropped money in his locker and, he would ride on his bicycle and like...
Supplement dealer? I think he just used it for himself for a really long time and then, graduated, finished off, started his own like R&D/manufacturing company, and he's been doing that for a really long time. So Pete and Daniel actually met on a psychedelic forum online.
Man, this reminds me of the early internet.
Yes. That's actually a great way to describe our foundership, especially because of the pandemic. Like, we're not meeting each other in person, kind of hearing from other people, seeing what their work was beforehand, putting trust into that. But yeah, that's how they met. I met Pete through a mutual friend who had worked with me on my previous company. And yeah, we kind of just jumped into it. If we had this base formula, we knew what we wanted to do, accessible psychedelics. We knew we couldn't make a hallucinogenic. It's a hard one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we couldn't really replicate that. What we could replicate was mood, focus, and energy. And so we took that base formula, started testing with it. The testing was a whole journey of its own.
Anecdotes. What does that mean? Is this like...
Imagine opening up your mailbox and finding just gummies in tinfoil, in a little baggie in your mailbox. and you're just supposed to be all right, blind faith, put it in my mouth, see how it goes. And at the time, the first time I tried, one of the first times of Mojo, I had no background. Pete failed to tell me, take half, which Daniel had told him. And so I just took the entire thing. I was like, yeah, it's a gummy. I'm going to, test it out. And I was bouncing off the walls. I was like, I need to clean my entire house right now.
Really?
It was a little too strong.
But it shows that the effects work.
Yes. It was a few more iterations until we got to one that, we were happy with, and until we launched, our soft launch anyway. But it was a journey of just testing with friends and family and getting them to just tell us honest feedback.
That's what it should say on the package. Tested on humans, not tested on animals.
Yeah,
Tested on humans.
Tested on real people on our team. That's what Aesop does with their
the soaps?
Their pet line. Tested on employees' pets. So you know that they wouldn't harm their own pets.
You hope.
You would hope. Right?
In a normal world with normal people who live normal lives. Yeah, totally. It feels like things have gone fast for you guys. Because if you met each other online in 2020, started whipping up batches of this stuff and testing it on each other and feeling the effects of the high, liking it, and now we're sat in studio with packages on the table of this product that people can, buy. So tell me about the manufacturing process that you had to focus on in order to reach the ability to put it in people's hands.
Manufacturing wasn't the hard part. It's actually building the brand that was the hard part. Manufacturing, because Daniel we're vertically integrated, he has his own manufacturing facility.
Okay, so it's a food manufacturing facility, or what is it?
It is.
Okay. So I assumed it was industrial. When you said manufacturing facility, I'm like, okay, they make chairs. Oh. In my head.
No, totally food safe, food grade. And so creating the different versions of it wasn't too hard because we had all the equipment, the molds, the ingredients, everything on that side was relatively not easy, but easier. In contrast to the hard part, which was figuring out our product market fit. So at first, we decided that we wanted to target gamers. We were like, you know what? This is a segment that I think will really appreciate a clean, energy-enhancing product.
So an alternative to Rockstar energy drink.
Exactly. Yes.
Red Bull.
That's exactly what we thought. Our whole theory was that there are gamers out there that have these wellness lifestyles and they're relatively clean living, but then when it comes to gaming they have the Red Bulls, and we figured they probably want an alternative, untapped market, and so we basically did zero testing other than on the product itself, making sure it worked, and then we just launched. We had investors who had connections into the esports world. And
question, pause. Mm-hmm. How did you have investors at that point?
I hate saying a serial founder. I have started companies previously, so has my co-founders. And so we had a network of people who had already bet on us in previous instances, and kind of, where you go, I go type of relationship. So we had already...
Your ride or dies.
Our ride or dies. A lot of family friends, some people with maybe a family office, but...
So angel. This was an angel round.
This was an angel round.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, we launched. It did terribly. How
did you launch? When you say launch, where did you sell it? How?
We worked with a bunch of gamer micro-influencers. We sponsored a few e-gaming events. We started doing some paid performance stuff with who we thought was the demographic. We made an Instagram, we launched a website, and what we figured out relatively quickly was that yes, gamers might have a super clean lifestyle, but when it comes to gaming, it's all about immediate performance.
Yeah.
And Mojo takes about 20 to 30 minutes to kick in.
Okay.
So it just wasn't the ideal fit. And more importantly, we aren't gamers. I'm not a gamer, neither are my co-founders. And so for us, we didn't really understand that culture, world. Yeah. The culture, how people speak about things, what they take, what they don't, what the games that were popular were.
Right.
And we tried. We hired people that had that experience, who were passionate about the space, but it just didn't make sense. After doing it for 4 or 5 months, we're like, this isn't working.
But that's good. That's a good, that's not that long as a time to invest in testing a market.
It's not. And we learned quickly. After that, I would say maybe a month after we were realizing it wasn't really picking up steam, we kind of went back to the drawing board, and we really went back to why did we create this, right? What was the reason behind it? And a lot of it was we wanted a product that we could take.
Right.
We were the audience. And so once we started kind of drawing out who the audience was and, how did they think? Where were they finding their information? What were their pain points? And kind of started retargeting our messaging, our packaging, our logo, our ads. then we started picking up steam. And so we relaunched. We did a hard launch in October 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And it went really well. We like beat our forecast for sales by like 50-ish, 56% within the first 2 months. And that's kind of when we realized we had a winner on our hands.
So October 2021, last October.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's now 2023.
You're right.
Pandemic time, pandemic time. 2023. Wow. A year and a half ago-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. So, okay, so how did you launch? What was the launch and what was the positioning?
At first, we went with natural food product, kind of natural alternative wellness.
Sure.
Which I would say is still kind of what we are. We, in terms of our launch, all the things that we did previously, just with the new type of audience.
Mm-hmm.
And we really focused at first on just our performance marketing kind of strategy and who we were targeting. We went deep into the psyche of like, who are other people like us? Where do they hang out? What can we sponsor? Where can we be in front of their faces? And then we were. Like,
so what was that prototype? Like, spell it out.
Well, for California, we started going to things like, there's this big like beach party. It's called the Box Party. And it's all about like day-to-day wellness, but also like millennial hanging out, wanting to find their inner self type of stuff. It grew from like 30 people back in, I think, 2016. Now it's like over 200 to 300 people.
Okay.
We were there.
Uh-huh.
We started going to like different types of meditation, yoga studios, fitness spaces, co-working spaces, and just giving out free products. Like, just try us. Like,
just pushing it.
Just pushing
the product. Hey kids, want some candy?
That was literally me, just showing
the
up.
Backpack.
Exactly. So we started doing that a lot, and just seeing what people would say, and then we started getting orders, which was great. What we didn't expect was we were fully ready just to be like a direct consumer play.
Right.
But then we started getting wholesale interest, and
interesting.
I had never done wholesale in my entire life, and then building out a wholesale arm of like sell sheets and information about the brand and decks and discounts and invoicing and
that was all learning as you went, or was
absolutely
no mentors, no advisors that are, with industry experience, worked at Coca-Cola for 5,000 years sort of thing? Uncle Tim.
We did have those folks, but because we were at that awkward part where it's like we're kind of too small for their advice based on their experience, but also we need some guidance. And so instead of relying on advisors who had worked at kind of those bigger companies, I started reaching out to other brand owners.
Nice.
And just being like, hey, it's my first time doing anything wholesale. I'm like, I don't even know what margin I'm supposed to expect. Like, what? How do I build out this sheet? How do I find, like, just starting from scratch fully? And thankfully, other brand owners took pity and took me under their wing and taught me a lot about what I'm supposed to do.
Any particular ones of note?
Definitely Daydream, the drink.
I think I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that on shelves at Fiesta Farms where I do my grocery shopping.
Nice. Well, Daydream, so Alex, the founder, he was crucial in all of this. There was also my partner's older sister. So she actually was one of the first sales marketing people for Vega, like that. It's like not a supplement, it's like a pre-workout type of thing. Back when they first started. Now they're
the
everywhere.
vegan energy bars?
No, it's like a powder.
Well, that's one of the things they do. But they have yeah. Okay, I know what you mean. That's the vegan one, though.
Yes.
That's what everyone knew it as at the time when it came out. Now there's lots of vegan options, I think, for protein powder. It's right?
Yeah, I think so. But basically just like sitting with these people and being like, what am I supposed to do?
That's awesome.
And then building it from there. I'm still learning, to be honest. But
yeah, because it's, again, this is 3 years in.
Yeah, just full on learning a lot of things still. I think one of my favorite ones was I feel like I was trying to run before I could walk. Mm-hmm. And so I have this like beautiful Notion built out like sales sheet with all the information, and there's a different tab and you have all the product specifications. It's beautiful. But when I'm speaking to wholesale retailers, they're like, send me the PDF. And I'm just like, I have this beautiful link where it can be
you can explore it and learn more, and they're like, I don't have time.
Yep, I made a Loom video, as techie as it could get.
Yeah.
And now I'm going back to the drawing board and creating like a PDF at the moment.
Well, honestly, the power of the PDF, man, it's unbeknownst to most people. It's crazy. And it's not
for it.
And what's funny in startup world, I mean, people make their PDFs like decks, Everything's a deck. It's like, let me sell you on some shit. No. It's got to be the dumbest document you can make with only the most functional links, hyperlinked, if at all. And it's literally just to pass the information around, right? Yeah, if it's not a form, and that's a whole different thing. It is interesting to like have to figure it out and go that way, because I've always thought that's kind of the way, the entrepreneurial way is like you have problems in front of you, and they're just really things to walk through. And the journey is so much fun. Like, I hope you guys have been having tons of fun doing this.
I would say there's fun and pain in equal amounts.
What are the mentionable painful things?
From the beginning or from like recent?
Go back, way back to the beginning.
Understanding what you can and cannot say on packaging and on social platforms. Pain. Okay. Big pain.
Big pain. So getting lawyers involved at some point.
Yes. And knowing what to ask them, right?
Yeah, so you have to watch your budget and watch your clock and watch your mouth.
Yep.
Because lawyers aren't humans.
Well, that's when you find one that has the human element.
It's so tough. I once counted how many lawyers I know. This was like 15 years ago. I knew 22 lawyers that I could name and call. Now it's probably tripled. And it's just because you meet lawyers. They're everywhere. But what's interesting is, there's so few that I know out of the multitude that I do know who understand business case for anything you bring them if they're corporate lawyers. Most of them are literally thinking about, the law. Mm-hmm. It's so weird.
It's important to have, so that I would say a big pain point, finding service providers that like understood your business, especially because we're in such a weird little niche, and being able to ask them things that are like, I'm like, I don't know if what I'm asking you is illegal or not.
Is this a drug? What class of drug is this? Yeah.
Exactly.
Can I get arrested for this?
Small things like that, or even insurance. That was a big pain point. We're a supplement, straight up. Like, we're a supplement, and that is our classification, completely legal. But because our name has microdose in it, it was. It
raises all these concerns. Insurance companies have also gotten so, they've really tightened their belts in the last few years. It's weird because it came up the other day. We're like, not the other day, a couple of years ago, we're renewing our policy, which is just general liability for real estate, right? Office space. And the policy came back, and the broker was like, I can't renew it. I'm sorry. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Why? We haven't changed our type of business. Oh, it's got to do with COVID and increased risk exposure. Offices? All offices are no longer insurable? How's that going to work? Well, no, it's not that. It's just that these guys are getting out of the office insurance business. Who are they? Lloyd's of London. I'm like, no. Lloyd's of London is one of the largest insurance companies in the world. So I guess, what I learned through that process, I then got a different broker to get me the same policy I used to have from the same underwriter, the same whatever. And it's so bad. But insurance is difficult because it's not necessarily about who's insuring you. It's about who's brokering that insurance as well. They have to understand what your business is to be able to fill out the PDF that they need to fill out, right?
Yeah, and also because functional mushrooms, even when you say it, a lot of people don't necessarily know what they are, and they just assume you say mushrooms, and in today's environment, it's magic. A psychedelic, it's a magic mushroom.
Mushies.
Exactly, and so it's just kind of I've made multiple insurance decks, kind of pointing out like these are ingredients, like there's nothing illegal in here.
But do you think that's part of the because part of your discovery in racing the market and then figuring out the product market fit must have entailed a competitive analysis or looking at least even if you don't consider it competition, but look at other products that use ingredients that you guys are blending, and then look at how what the brand equity, I would say the brand positioning of those ingredients are. It seems to me that in the last 5 years, products that, have some of the products I've seen in Canada and North America in general that have like reishi and lion's mane and all these things are touted as more than they are sometimes to kind of like shock value the purchase. And maybe that's because those brands didn't know their market positioning. So they were kind of like testing the waters by being racy.
We looked at people that offered the same benefits and how they spoke about said benefits. And a lot of these folks, one, they have their energy product, their focus product, their mood product. It's not all in one. And often it was very much like the granola, like wellness, mindfulness type of branding. And so for us, at first, we did try to go down that route. After the gamer, stint, we went down the wellness stint. And
you went full Tulum.
We did. We truly did. And then what we found was that we just weren't a natural product sweetheart. Like, we just weren't. And that's partially because there is synthetic caffeine, which sounds, it can sound a certain way, but all it is it's slow release. So instead of like when you have a coffee, you get that immediate like rush.
Is that real though? I thought a lot of that was placebo because of taste.
It just releases right away. That's all it is. Okay. And with us, it releases slowly over time. So instead of getting one big rush, you kind of get a slow build. And so, we kind of realized like we weren't a natural sweetheart. That type of branding wasn't going to work for us. Like, there was a version of Mojo that didn't have colorful anything and was more like, what is it called? Like recycled paper type of vibe. But then we realized that, places like Jimbo's or maybe even Erewhon, they weren't really...
Sorry, what's Jimbo's?
They're like they decide what is a natural food product. And
Jimbo's?
Yeah.
There's a place called Jimbo's that determines whether your product is natural or not?
Basically. So they are...
Is there a man named Jimbo?
I would hope. I really do hope.
And he sits in an office at the top of the
Just
building?
points. That one's good. It's a like company out of it's a grocery store based out of California, and they are the strictest in terms of what they put on their shelf.
It's like the kosher rabbi?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's if you're not on their shelves, you're not really in the natural space. Maybe other places like Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, they'll take you on because they're not Jimbo's.
Yeah.
But what we realized was like our ingredient list didn't really align with them. And so we kind of moved past that and we realized we were kind of in this like midway point where, yes, we had organic ingredients and generally like, we were vegan and all of the kind of good for you trust certificates, we had them for the most part. But we also wanted more fun branding, and our brand voice, we wanted to be more lively and not just for, meditation or breath work. We wanted to be for a party. We wanted to be for your workout. We wanted to be for your work day. We wanted to be for somebody recording music. Like, there were so many...
360 lifestyle brand.
Yes. And so that's been I would say one of the interesting and difficult parts of figuring out how to do performance marketing for us or how to speak about the brand when there is so many different types of use cases. It's still something that we like debate on a weekly basis, and something where I'm actually in the midst of doing customer interviews and figuring out like what are the reasons like you use Mojo, the top ones at least, to help inform what we're going to do next. Have you guys along the way engaged who, I guess, on the press side of things or PR side of things, getting your product in front of people that can write about it and help kind of amplify your voice, to the product marketing side of things and product, even package development, design side of things? Have you worked with external people for this, or is this all internal staff developed? No, we've definitely worked with experts. Okay. PR wise, we've worked with a few agencies, few freelancers over the past 1.5 years. Some were better than others. They got us into Business Insider, Forbes, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
Like that was a really great day. But and then in terms of like the packaging design, initially it was done in-house, the first 2-3 iterations. Then we worked with an agency out of Seattle for the current version, and we're actually updating our packaging. It's like going to print hopefully today. Fingers crossed on that one. And it should be ready for February because we're launching, I don't know when this is going to be released, but we're launching in Urban Outfitters. And so we wanted like really snazzy new packaging for it.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
So I may or may not have messaged over 73 buyers at Urban Outfitters worldwide on LinkedIn to
Gotta love LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the best.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, people should just admit it. Let's all connect. That's why we're connected, you know?
It is great. And I am a fan of LinkedIn. I'm one of those people that's like, if you add me, I'm going to ask you why you added me. Like I want to be able to somewhat know, you know, who you are.
Yeah, if nothing's like, hey, what's up? Let's, you know, let's jam on
chat.
something, but what? Yeah.
Exactly. And so, I messaged a bunch of people. And I guess one of the people that I messaged, I had also like applied through their regular portal. They happened to be the same person. She got back to me and she's just like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And so then I sent her like a whole SKU of like all of our stuff. I sent her a sweater. I was like, and I wrote like handwritten note, like, please like our product.
You're like, Grandma Stefany, I knitted this for you.
Literally, I tried, you know, our best to land that one. Similar to Fantastic Fungi, the Netflix documentary. That's like,
I don't know it.
Okay, you should watch it. It's fantastic.
Right, that's why it's called Fantastic Fungi.
It is. I've watched it like 2 or 3 times now.
It's a documentary about all
fungi.
sorts of fungi.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But we reached out to them, and now we're on their store, which is really wild because it was so huge. I think in 2021. Mm-hmm. But yeah, a lot of the time when we get these kind of bigger orders or partnerships, it's a lot of times like our small team doing our best, like on Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn, reaching out and being like, hey, like I have this cool brand, please take a look at it.
Yeah, and that's what it takes, that kind of hustle. Everyone says in the early days, but like
always.
I think always, and I think there's a lot of really interesting organic relationships that form that can support brands that way. Once you get, you know, corporate down the line, hopefully you don't need to go down that path if you don't want to. But like, yeah, the corporate CPG kind of world is a very dry place, and this is cool. This is way more fun. That's why I asked about the fun, and then also. You know, as these relationships form and you have people that are helping amplify your voice, helping you find new markets, it's kind of titillating, isn't it? To like consider what the opportunities are. And when you have a new relationship, just to think of the product in that many more people's hands. Yeah,
no, absolutely. One of going back to like the fun part, 2 partnerships recently that I was like, wow, this is going to be so cool. Because I'm fangirling over their products or services. I'm like, this is going to open up a completely different audience.
Yeah.
So one was vinyl. They send, it's like a subscription of vinyl records that they send to you. And I was talking to the founder. He was just like, I don't even know how many people actually have like record players at home, but it makes for a great like coffee table, like on a shelf type of vibe. And he's like, I don't actually know how many people
put vinyl on the wall and be like, I'm cool, I got vinyl.
Well, yeah, you have this like really big thing that has like a, you know, an artist name on it, and they also they look at your Spotify and they can provide you with like recommendations, but in a form factor of a vinyl record.
He's saying he's selling this, like he's selling vinyl to people that don't have
some. Yeah,
that's so weird, man. Like, so I you know, I've been a DJ since 1998 and have performed all over the world and had record labels and music festivals and stuff like that. So that sounds so strange to me, you know. I have my selection of my last maybe 300 records at home that I paired my like 10,000 record, 5,000 record, I don't know how many I had at the height, collection down to the gems, the most gem of the gems, just to be able to move around the world with that selection. So it sounds crazy. It's heartbreaking to me.
I mean, I get it though. I'm like, I love a vinyl record. I don't have a record player at home. But I
will get you a record player, okay?
I literally thought about buying one specifically for this partnership. And then there was Her Bar. So they're this like mushroom facial oil out of...
Wow.
I want
That's
to
kind of cool.
Portugal or Germany. I don't remember, but their product is really cool, and like their brand is really nice. Their packaging is beautiful. It's just really nice, like meeting other founders with really cool brands, and I'm like, oh, this was your passion project, eh? Cool.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. I think it's amazing what you guys have accomplished in the last few years. It sounds it's really quite an accomplishment. So as of now, where is Mojo? Okay, let's break this down, because I think that there's a lot under the hood already, and that's why I'm very proud of your accomplishments from what I've seen. Because Gwella seems okay. So in your marketing, at least from your website, you're focused on 3 things, right? Is that like fair to say?
In terms of like the benefits of Mojo?
No, in terms of like what Gwella does.
So yeah, I think it's important, the context. So Gwella is more of like psychedelic editorial content and trip supplies-ish. Like we have like a dosing calculator and a strain library of different types of psychedelic mushrooms, right? And Gwella is like psychedelic branding. Mm-hmm. Mojo is more day-to-day wellness.
Okay.
Leans on the edgy, illicit marketing side with microdose and the way that we sometimes speak about the product. But it's a legal product, can be in a Whole Foods, doesn't have any problematic language on the site, etc. Mm-hmm. And so the reason that we've done that is, well, one, yes, we wanted to create a psychedelic company. Like that was the entire basis of all of this. But Gwella is more so like building up street cred really in the psychedelic space. Mojo is creating a consumer brand that people can recognize. And eventually, if psychedelics are legalized one day, somebody can walk into a psychedelic shop and be like, hey, there's Mojo. They're also at CVS, Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so that was the reason behind it. On our new packaging, we actually took out the Gwella logo from the packaging.
The packaging that's coming out today, you said?
Yeah, well, getting printed. Fingers crossed. Because there is a bit of that confusion can arise. Like, well, Gwella's on there, and Gwella's like very much a psychedelic brand. If you go to the website, so does it have drugs in it? And it's like, no, it doesn't. And so we wanted to limit that type of confusion. Mm-hmm. But Mojo is one of Gwella's products. It's a little confusing.
No, I get it. Also, because it sounds like this is a little organic, and the kind of branding and brand extrapolation is going to continue on in the next few years. So it makes sense. So if Mojo is the kind of functional mushroom product line, mm-hmm. I'm sitting here with a few packages that you brought in. They're all different colors. I often think about this in product design quite a bit. Like when you look down in your shower and you say, I've used the same products for my hair for like 10 years. Same shampoo and conditioner, and I constantly forget which one's shampoo and which one's conditioner. And then you squint at the bottle and you see, oh yeah, it's the smallest type on the bottle. Mm-hmm. I still don't know why they do that. Every brand does it. Okay, but I'm seeing different colors possibly for different flavor. Mm-hmm. But it's the same thing?
Yes and no. So what you have in your hands, you have 2 regular strength and 1 extra strength, I believe.
Okay, I see. Macro strength is this red one.
Yes.
Right? That's this one. Mm-hmm. Then I've got 2 of these guys.
Regular strength. The new packaging is going to make it more clear on what's extra strength. It's going to be like, imagine that nice lilac color, but then the extra strength version of it will be like a dark gray with the center kind of mushroom image in the middle being that purple. So you have the like, oh, okay, this is lighter, it's full color, and then you have like it's dark because it's extra strength.
Totally.
And yes, you have to do that voice when you're actually thinking about it. But yeah, different flavors. So this is the regular strength. And so what we had originally thought of doing was like a darker color or deepening the color of the regular strength to make the extra strength. But for some people, especially if you have a bit of a color blindness, that is tough to tell. So yeah, we're changing it up.
So this is just a larger package of this in different flavor.
Different strength, but yes.
Different strength. It is. What? I thought this was normal. Oh, not that. Extra. There we go.
Different flavors, same strength.
Right on.
And different sizes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. It's also exciting. I can't wait to try this. Okay, so the active ingredients, looking at the ingredients here, cordyceps. Cordyceps just means mushroom, no?
Yep, it's a type of mushroom. Two
Yeah.
different types of. We have two different types of cordyceps.
Sinensis and militaris. What's sinensis?
Sinensis is just a different type of cordyceps. So, I mean, cordyceps in general are those like really freaky fungi that take over different type of bugs, like ants or caterpillars or, well, there's a bunch of different types of bugs, takes over and then just like uses the host body to like grow, some of which keep the host body alive. There's a new show out there that takes the same concept. It's like zombieing your host. But that's cordyceps. It's great for a few things, including things like blood flow, energy, heart health, libido. Like it has a bunch of different uses.
So the difference between sinensis and militaris?
Kind of same, but different. Different aspects of energy. I would get into the science aspect of it, but that's not my strong suit.
Okay. And lion's mane?
Lion's mane, it could look at things like memory. It can look at things like your mood, your focus. We mostly use it for focus and memory.
And mucuna?
That will look at your mood. Mucuna pruens.
Like it improves your mood. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Because you don't want to make your mood bad. And the ginseng that you guys use, where's it from? Is it Korean ginseng?
No, I don't actually know, to be honest.
I love ginseng.
It is a good one, but it's funny because it like for mood, people tend to think like, oh, it's going to elevate my mood, and I mean for me it does. For other people though, it just kind of stabilizes your mood. Depending, like with any supplement, you never really know how it's going to affect your own body and your own tolerances. But I was doing customer interviews recently, and when asking people like, oh, why do you take Mojo? They were like, oh, well, I take it because I want to stabilize like how I'm feeling during the day. I don't want to have too big highs and too big lows. And I thought that was really interesting because I take it and I'm like, if I'm having a bad day, I want to take Mojo to uplift my mood.
Huh. I'm going to try one of these guys. So the other question I have is the format. So all of these are gummies. This is what you guys sell is gummies. What was the reason for this particular format as your first product?
I don't know about you, but I hate when people mess with like my coffee or my tea. And most supplements are either in a capsule or powder. Capsule felt a little too medical for us. It was a little too medical, which wasn't the brand that we were trying to build. And we also had the theory that a lot of people that are probably going to take this, they probably already have their own supplements at home. Like for me, I have, a kind of an array, almost like I'm an 80-year-old person of things I take. And I didn't want to add to that. And then powders are just inconvenient. You can't take it with you. Or if you take it with you, you have to like bring it in a little thing. You have to stir it in. And you're going to either ruin your tea or your coffee at some point. And that wasn't necessarily what we wanted to do either. So yeah, we made a gummy. So you just had regular strength strawberry tangerine. I would say it depending on your tolerance. I typically recommend people that can have a coffee past 3 p.m. and still sleep. Yeah. You probably want to go with the extra strength.
Okay. So is extra strength the same as like 2 of these?
2.5 of those.
Okay.
Although we are actually making regular strength stronger come February as well.
Interesting. Okay, I'll take one more.
Well, you should try a different flavor if you're gonna.
Yeah.
You should go explore.
I'm gonna go for the blueberry.
Which is interesting because a lot of customers do that, and I don't get it. I would be curious to know, like, what made you choose blueberry?
I'm gonna tell you, it's product psychology, to do with aesthetics. Actually, I took that one first because it was the biggest one. Okay. That's why I took it. Then the red always turns people. You want calming colors typically, like blues and greens and turquoises and purples and. Yeah, so that's why I went for this because it was like, if I have to make a decision, this is the easiest one because it's like a soft color.
Gotcha. Okay.
In my head. Red is danger, right?
That's valid.
Psychologically. Yeah. Oh, these guys have gotten a little sticky.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've had them in my drawer for like a solid 3 weeks, so.
Thank you. Actually, I do like this. Wow. I prefer this taste. In the sense that the flavor is less mushroomy. It's less earthy.
If we find that with my favorite personally is the pomegranate hibiscus. I find it's like the nicest flavor for me. But blueberry, like that is basically one of our, top sellers.
Wow. Very nice flavor. I like it. So let's talk about the scale at which you guys are currently. Where aside from the couple new distribution partners like Urban Outfitters, which is exciting, where is this available? In stores? In grocery stores? In health food stores?
We
Aside
primarily,
from your direct channel.
I was going to say primarily direct, but we're also on Amazon US. We're also in about 55 stores across the US. A lot of not random, but like more boutique grocery or cannabis, some sex stores too.
Okay.
So that like it's been very much independent type of stores. Now we're actually, as of this morning, I signed a sales team broker-ish agreement to try and grow that arm. And we went international back in October.
Okay.
So now we
Congrats.
sell, thank you. Yeah, we sell internationally as well, but wholesale only in the US and soon to be Canada.
This is interesting. So internationally, that means are you selling directly internationally, or you have you have sales partners that are pushing the product or trying to get it into foreign territories for
We
you?
have a fulfillment center that does our logistics for international shipments.
Oh, right, because you're selling online, so it's less about the retail. So if orders come in from anywhere in the world, you have them
Fulfill it.
distributed. I love that. How's the experience been selling on Amazon? Have you used them?
tricky.
Have you used them as your fulfillment partner, or
Yes.
Okay.
We are an FBA platform, like or brand rather. It's been tricky. So at first, one of the things that we kind of, I would say, messed up on, we did our whole persona mapping and, did it for the brand and great. Launched it, did really well, went on Amazon, just assumed that it would be the same type of customer, used all our same tricks up our sleeve, massively failed. We launched, so the first one that you tried, the regular strength, that was our first SKU on Amazon. What we learned was that Amazon customers don't want regular strength. They want like extra strength as the strongest punch you can give them.
Wow.
Alongside affordability. Like that is what
They want
looking
value for their buck. Is that what it
Exactly.
is?
Exactly.
Even in a consumable
Yes.
supplement. Wow.
And so we had this moment of like, wow, like our reviews are awful because a lot of people are like, this isn't strong enough for me. And then second part of that was Amazon for a solid 2 months, they messed up our fulfillment. And so they were sending people the wrong product. And so our listing
Like the wrong
was
flavor, or like some
No, like
other,
a rather-
like a pair of jeans.
yeah, like completely just
Oh
wrong.
no.
And so it just tanked our rating. Like we had like a 2.9 or 3. Like, it was awful.
How do you come back from that?
You don't. We
So you
nuked
just-
it.
You relist? Or
Yeah,
you-
we
killed the store.
We killed the store. We killed the listing. Then we actually got into an accelerator out of Guelph, and we, as part of it,
Wait, an accelerator out of Guelph?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's wow. They would kill me if I didn't remember this.
The university is affiliated with the University of Guelph.
I don't think so. I think it's called Innovation Guelph.
Huh.
They do have partnerships with the university, but it's not part of the university.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, we got in, and as a part of that, we got an Amazon agency advisor, which actually got. So the entire reason I knew about any of this was because a different brand owner of like a kids bar that I know from Toronto was like, "You guys need Amazon help." I worked with this guy, but I ended up not having to pay the agency because I got into this accelerator, and he's part of it. And I was like, yes,
Nice tip.
that's what we need to know.
Yeah, credits.
Exactly. And so, I applied, we got in, we got to work with the agency. We're still working with them now. And basically, they like took care of the nuking of our previous listing, got all of our product back, relaunched it, redid our storefront, changed how, like really looked at what type of wording and copy we were using. And anyway, right now I think we're at a 3.9 at the moment. And I'm like, get to that 4.0, just push just a bit.
Oh, ratings. Ratings are tough that way, man.
Yeah, they are. And it's not like you can ask people, like Amazon's super vigilant about, asking for reviews. And so we've been, just working our way through it, doing the best that we can. But it was a big learning curve of like, if you have an omni-channel strategy, you can't just assume your persona is going to be the same across all of them.
Right. Yeah. Every channel is different. Oh my God. So what are you most happy with? It's that direct to customer sale from your website in terms of being able to handle the relationship?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on what you mean by happy with.
Well, I wonder, like, this is the holy grail, right? The zeitgeist currently is maybe for the last, maybe it's post-zeitgeist, but the last couple of years, right, with the pandemic has been e-com's rebirth, or maybe not rebirth, for the, like, average Luddite, e-com is something new. And I've been shocked by that personally, because it's like, 20 years we've been talking about e-com. But the holy grail, of course, is being able to attract your customers and retain your customers through your own e-commerce platform, connect with them, evolve your relationship with content, and everyone's happy. But it kind of doesn't work that way, right? Like, I don't know if you find this. People might buy stuff from your website, then they'll find your stuff somewhere else. They'll buy it from somewhere else. They know the brand, but they're not thinking of the relationship as involving the port of transaction, which of course has its own issues on the back end, at least I'm guessing, to do with, how many middlemen are taking the share and revenues, and it's, more profitable to sell direct, and customers don't know that. Do they need to know that? Blah, 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 blah.
I feel like customers know that now. And because of the e-com resurgence during the pandemic, I feel like, and maybe I'm just biased because I'm a brand owner, and so now I will not shop on a Black Friday deal. I rather get it before or after. And I'm like, keep doing what you're doing, And I feel like customers have become more aware of, like, especially the shop local, even if it's not shopping local physically, it's like support the brands that you really like. Mm-hmm. Even if you test them out on Amazon first, but you come back and you buy through direct. Mm-hmm. To us, I mean, yeah, owning the relationship is very valuable. We learn a lot. We also have this like really amazing community of beta testers. So when we want to launch something new, we're like, hey, can anybody just try free products for us and tell us like what you think about it? Which is great. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I also really want to build our retail size, and the idea that we could be in a bunch of CVS's and, people like see us, buy us, even if it's not direct, like it's an incredibly exciting opportunity for us. Oh,
for sure.
So, I mean, I don't know, wherever you buy, I love you for it,
And so for our audience that's listening and watching, CVS, if you're not in America, is kind of like our Shoppers Drug Mart in Canada.
Yeah.
Right? CVS and Walgreens, aren't those those are the largest maybe pharmacy grocery combos in America?
I think CVS is more like a 7-Eleven or a Shoppers-ish, like pharmacy plus convenience, versus Walgreens I think is a little bit more Walmart. Like it has a little bit of everything. But I might be wrong because I'm not American. So,
So what have you been seeing in terms of your customers? Like, I guess are there prototypes or, I don't know, persona that have emerged from looking at, as your client base grows, as the user base grows, the customer base grows, the regular user, with this new positioning that's more kind of lifestyle focused and healthy well-being kind of focused. What have you learned?
There's a few different types of people that buy Mojo from my perspective. We have like the people who are using it as an alternative to a psychedelic microdose, whether they use psychedelics or not. But they want to get the benefits of a psychedelic microdose, and they, for whatever reason, they can't or they don't want to get a psilocybin microdose, they'll take Mojo. Or maybe they ran out and Mojo's kind of a alternative. Then you have the people who are like, it's their pre-workout. Instead of adding powder to water before they go do their workout, they take a Mojo or take a few Mojos. You have, I feel like it's like fitness, but it's also mindfulness because you have like the yogis and the breath work and the cold exposure people. They all kind of fit into the almost performance category. Then you have the mental health folks who, they look at Mojo as a way to help with things like depression or anxiety. And that's a regular, everyday type of consumer. Just on that note, for Mojo, for me, I use it as a way to deal with social anxiety, like before a party. Instead of pre-drinking, I've definitely stopped drinking as much alcohol as I guess used to in my earlier 20s. Mojo is a great way to kind of like get the same feeling of kind of excitement and a little bit more like chattiness.
Did you just say in my earlier 20s?
I did. In my earlier
I've never
20s.
heard anyone in my life say that. Damn, I feel old. That's awesome.
And then you have the people, I would say, like long shifts.
Yeah.
And that can be broken into work for sure. Like it could be productivity boost during the day, but it can also be like nurses at night that have really long shifts, or truckers, or parents, that like you have an entire day with kids under 5, for example. And so I would say those are the main categories that people buy Mojo for, which again, now we're kind of trying to figure out how do we have different landing pages for those very different type of use cases. And so we're kind of working through how do we talk to those different types of people right now.
It's tough, right? It's tough. It kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier. Like if your product is applicable to so many different types of people, and also if it's differentiated as a product, like you have these different lines, like Gwella is moving away from Mojo as a brand. It's difficult to tell the larger story to the customer. I think this is an interesting thing, especially with CPG, right? But like today more than ever in this fast-paced media landscape that we live in, it's extremely difficult to articulate the need for a customer to explore a brand. There's less examples of that kind of brand being prevalent in the world. And even luxury brands that used to command that kind of, responsibility upon the customers, let's call it 20, 30, 40 years ago, now are trying to peddle their product in the same way that any fast fashion, quick seasonable, what do they call them in fashion these days? Capsule. You heard that word?
The capsule wardrobes.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, this guy just dropped that new hat, and it's a collab, you could only get this many pieces. It's kind of
It gets really hard actually to trying to find almost like a category authority on different types of categories, including fashion. No longer am I looking at like what is Zara dropping, what is Gucci dropping, what are these like bigger fashion houses, whether it's like elite fashion or day-to-day fashion. It's more so finding like those smaller designers that have a 200K following or something. What are they dropping? Because they're actually going to be the ones that dictate what everybody's going to be wearing. Similar to supplements, it's like who are the like smaller but bigger players, and what are the ingredients they're using? How are they talking about their ingredients, and how do we do the same thing? And especially in a world where we're peddling microdoses, you know? Sometimes we're like, there is no path that we can kind of look at. It's kind of like, all right, well, let's just keep trying A, B, C, and so on, testing and see which one performs best, and then go back to it.
So you guys have definitely been doing a great job of kind of digging into content and creating content. What's the strategy with that?
That's a great question that I don't know how to answer.
And I hate that word, by the way, content. For anyone who's listening, I apologize for using that word. But yeah,
it's so many different things. We've tried the whole micro-influencers creating content for us without a script, with a script, or with guidelines rather, not a script. We've tried the founders recording videos and posting that out there about our experience as like creating a brand. We've tried purely static type of content where it's just educational or maybe cool or aspirational. We've tried a lot of things. The thing about us is like the benefits that we want to talk about are often against community guidelines. And so maybe we've been deactivated twice now or so. And then
from
like Instagram or from
TikTok. That's a pretty meta statement. We've been deactivated, man. It's over.
It's awful. Or you get shadow banned where it's like they don't tell you've done anything wrong, but all of a sudden like you can't be searched and your engagement just takes a nosedive and you have no idea what you did wrong. And trying to contact Meta is like, well, good luck.
You're right.
You know?
Right. They're all hiding in the metaverse. Yeah, I know it's a real problem, right? And relying on social channels to reach customers and kind of having them as your brand outlet is very difficult. you're not in control.
Yeah, and so we're still trying different things. Like we are constantly kind of looking on social platforms, seeing what other brands do or seeing what other creators do, and then seeing, can we do something like that? But the rules are constantly changing. And so we're just, I would say, good at adapting to what type of content we need to put out, trying new things. But honestly, like it's always just something new.
Yeah. But is the main thing to be able to spread awareness about the product whilst also kind of developing relationships with people, like finding new customers?
I would say yes. Benefits, like letting people know that there is an alternative to, mood, focus, energy that is relatively natural and organic, and fun. And then starting conversations with people, trying to be engaged on like, how can you use Mojo? Trying to get invited to cool things as a brand,
Yeah.
Just I guess really sharing our story and trying to create a community based on that. Like right now, so I recently took over customer success until Feb, and a lot of the time I'm just like, yeah, no, like you're talking to founder right now. Hello, like how are you using it? And I think just customers, even myself as a customer, like I love that I can reach out to a brand and get direct FaceTime essentially with the person who created it.
Oh yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do.
I do the same thing. If someone emails StartWell and I respond, I always, even if I'm in between 5 million things and I pick up the phone and we have this VoIP thing that rings all over the place, right? And they're like, hi, yeah, I'm just trying to do this. And I'm like, okay, cool. Send an email to info@startwell.co. And they're like, really? Will anyone read that? And I'm like, no, it's not a generic thing. It comes to me. I'm the CEO. I just don't want to spell my first name right now. It's just really easy. Really? You're the founder? And I'm like, that's another thing. It's like people, this looks great, right? This packaging looks awesome. Mojo, it looks like it's legitimate, So people kind of, when they see this and they see it in a store, they see the branding on the website and they see that there's so much content and it's something to delve into. Their immediate thought or consciousness isn't around the founder story and the fact that like there's people like producing this thing, and that's a whole nother critique I have, of kind of the modern, maybe also in CPG particularly, like in packaged goods, people kind of assume that these things just come out of factories and they're born from the loins of the machine, but there's so it's interesting to humanize it and to specifically like talk to the customers and offer that perspective. I think it's really fun. It's super fun to do the CS stuff, talk to people.
I think it is. There's again 50-50 on the fun and the pain.
Right.
But I've also noticed myself as a customer, different brands that I've recently become like absolutely obsessed with. Mm-hmm. Like I will find out who the founder is and I will message them on Instagram and be like, look, I'm also a founder and you created a fantastic product. I am one of your customers and I think what you're doing is amazing. And founders love that. Because like a lot of people do assume it's just like, oh, it's just being created, produced somewhere. It's like, no, every single time that like, you message us on Instagram or something, I'm like, oftentimes I will see it, and like either it will make my day or I'm like, or it'll ruin my day. And that's the thing.
Be nice, people, be nice.
Oh, absolutely, please. And that's what the other thing about customer success. Sometimes you get people that are really sweet and kind and understanding. And other times people just want to just complain and be rude and mean. And I'm like, there's no AI on the other side of this. I am a human. I recently had that with somebody who was upset. And I was like, I typed back, I'm like, I think this is what you mean. I'm like, is this what you mean? And they're like, it sounds like you're frustrated, so I'll just end the conversation. And I'm just like...
No, and this is the thing is like, the means of communication is so important to be able to communicate effectively. And chat, this is, I think, why, this kind of a quasi-intelligent AI has really done well for chatbots in the last 5-6 years, is most conversations are triageable, right? Mm-hmm. And you just want to get the customer to the information they're looking for, or otherwise to assuage their fear that they're not alone and that someone will reach out to them. But don't reach out during chat or is chat again, because it's so tough. It's so tough. Unless it's like some functional question someone has, like they're chatting with the software company trying to diagnose an issue to do with an integration. Very different than, I don't know. What's an example even of like a customer support request for a product like this?
Where's my shipment?
Okay. So it's mainly to do with that?
No, sometimes people are like, how am I supposed to feel? How much
apprehension.
should I take?
Okay.
There's a fair amount of, especially now that we went international, it's like, where's my package? Because depending on, are we fulfilling, or somebody else fulfilling?
Right.
I got one that was interesting recently. She was just like, hey, I shipped it to my parents, but then I realized it says microdose on it. You guys don't have any drugs in it, right? And I was like, no, we don't. She's like, I want to cancel my order because it says microdose on it, and like, I'm not sure what the packaging is going to look like. I'm like, it's a plain white like package. Like, it's not going to, freak anybody out, but totally get it. Like, you can reorder later. No issue. But yeah, I would say some education, some logistic stuff. But personally, like for me, even as a customer, my heart just drops when I see that it's only AI, like it's only going to be a reservation bank of basically like different questions that people have asked. I'm just like, I just want a person. I just want a person to tell me that everything's going to be all right. And that's it.
For me, that's why I love telephone. I still love telephone. I just adore the telephone. I think having a conversation with someone, of course, in person is the best thing ever, but I also hate video calls. Like, I hate them. I detest them vehemently. So like Zooms and all the stuff with boxes and just like, I'm seeing only like one direction. You can't move your head. Very annoying to me. I'd rather have just audio only. And so we have our telephone number on our website for that. And we encourage people to call and leave a voicemail. And that's another thing that unfortunately people are not in the habit of utilizing voicemails these days. What I found, this is an interesting little social anecdote that I observation in the last few years is leading into the pandemic, business phone calls typically I would find for like, let's call it leads, like people that need a meeting space at StartWell, we would have perhaps 60% to 80%, like quite a high threshold of people calling that didn't reach somebody on our staff. They would leave a voicemail. With the pandemic, it's gone down to about 30%. And the more I survey people, and when I find, I call back the missed calls always, and I ask people just to learn what happened. Most people are so burnt out from their personal lives about being reachable and on demand for work and for home, and they don't know what to say when it hits voicemail. They kind of feel awkward. If there's someone there, then maybe they can, they're not alone in a way.
They're forced to do it.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So anyway, I like the phone a lot. I do miss voicemails. I like hearing voicemails. It's quite fun. But yeah, customer support can be tricky, especially as you are global and you're selling your product all over the place. How has, going back to the marketing side of things and the content, how has being global impacted that kind of, brand positioning, or do you think it will?
It will. It hasn't. The way that we are currently international is with this really great company called Maple. So what they do is that they basically do your advertising and your logistics internationally, which can get dicey for a natural food product like us because, you have to be careful about what you're saying or what you're not saying and so forth and so on. So we actually don't do any international advertising. Like, we just don't. We only do advertising in the US and soon to be Canada. And our brand positioning probably will change as that expands. But for now, it only launched in October, so we haven't done it yet.
Okay. Yeah, because internationalization is difficult, in terms of like multilingual, looking at like nuances, even the packaging.
I was going to say, I'm
right?
like, Canada with the French?
Yeah.
We're looking at the new packaging right now, and it's like, yeah, our new packaging and this one, like, it looks dope. But now we're going to have to change it up and make sure that we have that room for the French translation and make sure that it makes sense in French,
Yeah.
Especially without having somebody that speaks French on our team. So like trying to find somebody that gets the brand, gets our brand voice and understands how to translate it appropriately. But yeah, there's and even like the value proposition that you're talking about on packaging. Different audiences want different things. And so again, we haven't learned that lesson yet. Our assumption right now is that the Canadian market is going to be very similar to the US market, particularly because of the sales that we've been seeing so far anyway in Canada. But I'm sure It will
in terms of
change.
the type of customer.
In terms of the type of customer.
So where's the company at now in terms of its kind of like composure? How's your team grown?
It started like 3 people, then we grew to about 8 people, and now we're back to 5 people. So the thing about building a company, right, is that you need different skill sets at different times of growth. And once you're past that kind of stage, or that those type of projects needed at certain different stages, then you move on to different skill sets. Some people might transition well into other skill sets. Some people, they're specialists. They do that one thing. And so we've kind of, gone up and down in terms of team size. Right now we're at 5 right now. A little bit in marketing, a little bit in product, and a little bit in kind of operations, do a lot of things. But from us, we often just work with really good external freelancers. And so we just kind of keep them not on payroll.
So you're pretty agile in the sense that you can kind of scale up and down your capabilities with using third parties.
Yeah, and that's what we've really tried to get better at over the past 2 years, because we realized you can bring on a bunch of team members, but then you're at a whole different stage of growth, and all of a sudden those skill sets aren't necessarily, it's not that they're not required, but it's not needed as much as they were. And those people sometimes can't necessarily transition into a more general role. And
no, it's really, it's tough to find multi-talented people that can kind of, in the early stage of any company, kind of pick up where it's needed, apply themselves, but also be able to, not silo themselves or go down rabbit holes and think that that's all they have to do.
Some people like that are amazing. Like, I love when I meet a specialist. It's like, I do this one thing really well. Yeah. And I'm like, amazing, fantastic. I personally, I love operations because I'm a generalist. My entire ethos when building companies is like, you should be able to jump into any aspect of the business and do it. And if you can't, then you should have a co-founder that can. I love a good generalist.
Honestly, that's what I do all day. I'm super general. I am the general of StartWell. I think it's interesting because it sounds like the company is about to blow up. I mean, 5 people is a small team. It's a small team. How has capital, like financial capital, played a role, kind of since you got the product out and you're starting to do distribution deals? Has it played a point where you needed to go back to find more capital from either the original investors or look outside to bring on new investors?
Yeah, I mean, capital has allowed us to test new formulas, new packaging, new distribution strategies. We've done, I want to say 3 rounds. Yeah. Since then, beyond family friends, we moved into the VC space, mostly with psychedelic funds.
Cool.
They've been really interesting to work with. And
do you know one that's based here called Noetic?
I do know Noetic. They are not one of our investors, but I have been told you should reach out to them, and I'm like, maybe next round. Right now, our most recent round was more focused on D2C CPG type of VCs.
Yep.
To help grow that distribution aspect, but. In terms of what it's been allowed us to do, it's allowed us to also hire people with those specialist mindsets, do that project really well, and build a really kick-ass brand so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and then now let's talk tying the internationalism thing to the growth strategy thing and this brand positioning of Gwella. So I guess the idea is to prepare for legalization of psilocybin somewhere, Canada or elsewhere.
I'm probably yes, Canada. Back to the gamer thing. It's really hard to launch in a space that you do not know the culture in. So maybe UK. My co-founder's from the UK.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, part of the reason that we built Gwella and Mojo simultaneously is if in that eventuality, we would be equipped to launch a line in that space. Do we need it? No.
Did I see something on your website though about Jamaica?
We have a bunch of retreats listed on the GwellaMushrooms.com website, where it's a bunch of retreats that do have psilocybin type of retreats on there. We have some partnerships with a few of them,
Oh, okay.
and we're kind of working to build that out a little bit more. But us, in terms of like what we're doing right now, is just creating partnerships, creating a consumer brand people recognize, trying to provide value for people that are looking for psychedelics, like how much to take, what to take, how to do it, when to do it. But again, staying on the legal side of it.
Right. Yeah. Very cool. I'm excited by this. I think this is really cool what you're onto. And I think it's great to hear that like people are really kind of, well, actually I don't know if I heard this from you. In terms of the people that are your kind of regular customers, like what's the regular use case? Are people using Mojo through their daily life every day?
Some people, yes. Some people, no. Some people, like gym goers, tend to go to 3 to 4 times a week to the gym. You'll take it 3 to 4 times a week. Other people that use it maybe for their mental health, it's more of the day-to-day. We suggest 5 days on, 2 days off.
Why take a break?
Just to make sure you're not building too much, like a tolerance.
Oh, okay.
We also, it is a riff off of the Stamets protocol for microdosing psilocybin, which is, I believe, 4 days on, 2 days off, I think. So we wanted to do a play on that, but also, to make sure you don't build tolerance. And then you have people that like, it's for, let's say, instead of a pre-drink, they take Mojo. Well, maybe they're only drinking once to twice a week on a Friday and a Saturday night. So that's their use case. So again, back to the like, there's so many different use cases and different types of customers that it can be routine, it cannot be routine. And I'm still figuring that out. I'm still figuring that out with customer interviews right now. I'm like, what is the majority?
Yeah. It's tough. How are you conducting your customer interviews? Is it just like random surveys, or are you sending messages out to people who bought through your website? So
we looked at a model of people that were coming back and people that weren't coming back. We then downloaded all of their information, looked at trying to get like some gender parity and some general like lifestyle parity in terms of income levels, where were they living, what their lifestyles were like. We hand selected about 200 people in about 4 different batches. We emailed all of the selected people, invited them to an interview, and only chose between 25 to 50 of each batch.
Okay.
And then I sit with them for about 30 minutes and do like a video call interview of, a bunch of questions that we wrote out that our team wanted to know. And then I send them a gift card.
Okay. So video call is the format, but with some good triage. And then that's so interesting. And then it's just about watching that content together, or you run it through some AI to kind of derive sentiment analysis and stuff. Oh, okay. I'm thinking of like the geeky way to analyze all the data from that call. But yeah.
That's me on, Google Smart Sheets or whatever, just taking those notes, putting like highlighting ones that I think are really important.
Yeah.
Although that way probably would be a lot better, but no. Straight up notes.
Nice. That's cool, man. And are people, how are people's responses when they hear that you're interested in hearing from them? Most of them are like pretty down. I mean, you get paid like between, $50 for half hour. That's pretty decent, you know? And all you have to do is tell me about your experience, why you hated it, why you loved it. I do these all the time. Like, I love being the customer interviewer. I love making money that way. And so people are generally pretty willing. I find that sometimes I have to preface them like, yes, I am the founder, but like, feel free to tell me my product sucks. Like, it's totally okay. Yeah. Especially because for some people's bodies, like, this just won't work for them. And that's okay. Right? So just prefacing it with that, trying to make them comfortable into telling, how they feel. It's been pretty good so far. That's awesome, man. I think it's cool because, again, you're taking this really full circle approach to not only founding the company, creating the product, testing the product, growing relationships that can help distribution. It's a really interesting thing to see your approach as an entrepreneur, because I think you're on the right track in so many directions. It's awesome. What do you think next year or this year? 2023. It's almost February. This new year, what do you think it will bring for Mojo? What are you trying to achieve this year for the brand, or for the whole company, I should say? I would say at least one different use case and or form factor. Okay, cool.
Something limited edition, like a limited edition drop.
Capsule. Yeah.
You know, like something interesting. I would say different flavors, maybe limited edition flavors as well, partially from customer interviews. And one thing I'd really love to do is an at-home case. Like these are great, but I like even for myself, I like to have something at home, and also that is to go. So I'm working on that literally right now. I was designing it this morning on Photoshop.
Rather than a Ziploc, like an actual...
Yeah, like so you can buy it as a Ziploc, but once you get home, you can transfer it into your at-home case, or we can fill it for you, like ship it back.
Like a pill box.
Maybe like a pill box.
Pill box where each day's like divot has a little seal on it.
Exactly, make it airtight, and that way you could maybe even take it with you. You know, because we have gotten that. People really like Mojo because unlike a powder or capsule, well, maybe capsules, but unlike powders, you can kind of just drop it into your bag and go take it whenever you want. So yeah, I'm working on that literally right now. Oh, and a loyalty program.
Yeah.
That's one thing that is like top sites right now. Loyalty program for subscribers or for just return customers.
I love that actually because it's tough otherwise to divine, you know, who actually wants to have a relationship with the brand and the company out of your customer base. There might be regular buyers that are like, yeah, I love this thing. It's cool. Now I'm living my life. But there's other people that are like, I love this thing. I want to meet more people that love this thing. And I would love to share stories. And so that will give you access to that. That's good.
Yeah, I love brands that build out community that way. I don't know if I have like a love-hate. I don't know if it translates into dollars as much as some D2C people might think. Personally, I love it. Like there's a few brands like As I Am or Hoo Ha who I love them and I love being part of their community. Like I'm the type of person that will go onto their Discord and like just kind of see what people are talking about and how they use their products, and that's just something I'm interested in. But is that majority of customers? I don't know.
I mean, this is new to me to hear that there's brands that even have Discords.
Yeah, it's super cool.
So Hoo Ha and what are these brands you mentioned? What do they do?
As I Am, it's an American brand. They are for curly hair specifically, and
like hair products. Oh, cool.
And what I love about it is that they don't have specific ingredients that like will make you lose your hair, or for mine specifically, like they don't have protein in their products, which is really weirdly hard to find. But they have a Discord, and so you can log on and be like, you know, how do I add this into my routine to get my best type of curls, and post a photo, and you get real advice from their team and from other people in their community. Hoo Ha is a Vancouver brand, an underwear brand. Get it? You know,
your Hoo Ha. It
right?
covers your Hoo Ha.
Exactly. Which they've also figured out a really unique way to talk about their product that doesn't get them banned on community platforms. They instead, like, they talk about your Hoo Ha with fruits, and like it's just like this alternative language that everybody knows what you're talking about, but it doesn't get you deactivated or shadow banned.
Talking about underwear would do that?
It depends on what you're posting about it. Yeah, it can get you shadow banned.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it's interesting seeing how their community is building out. Like if you go to their comment section or even what they post about, which is often community members, it's just fun to be a part of it. I'm part of this like small club of like really great underwear.
It's really funny you mention that because I'll mention another brand that's actually affiliated with us because they shoot catalog content in our studio around the corner. So we have this big facility that's for stills in motion, and it's such a beautiful, like, big white studio with a psych, so a curved wall. There's like no corners, and it's NYX. So
nice.
Another Canadian brand that people love. Interesting founder story, right? And all of that. And every time that I tell someone that NYX shoots content at StartWell, their eyes just go really wide. At least the customers of NYX that I speak to.
I am a NYX customer, and I also was one of their models once.
What? That's amazing.
I am a huge NYX fan.
And this is the thing. Every single customer that I've come across, just anecdotally through telling people about this, and it seems like there's a lot of customers of NYX, right? Because they retain their customers because everyone's like, this product's awesome. There's some elasticity issues from what I hear, you know. Things wear down. It's okay. But yeah, people are such loyal fans that they are almost always shocked to even discover each other through these anecdotes. Like I've mentioned this in groups of people, like just when we're like family things. I'm like, oh yeah, the people are asking me who's been in the studio and stuff, because a lot of our friends are professionals, and this is just a wild, crazy world that that Kasim lives when I talk to them. And then groups of ladies will be like, "Oh, you use those? Oh, I have those. Oh," and then they're off talking about Nicks for 20 minutes. So it's
following.
It makes sense that like strong brands can bring people together, and often cases, especially with your product, the customers will share, I'm quite certain, lifestyle values that will align them with each other even stronger. So there's a lot of potentiality to explore this year and onwards, and anything we can do to help that, I'd love to. If there's a community in Toronto that you want to bring together in physical, real life, IRL, bring it here to StartWell, whatever. I think that's going to be huge. Building a community is cool.
I think so too. And on that note, one of my favorite moments of 2021 was me outside of a club in Toronto, just like, hanging out. It's like 1:30 in the morning. And then I was with somebody, and like we were talking about Mojo, and I was talking about like work week. Somebody hears Mojo and they're like, "Oh yeah, I love Mojo." And then the person beside them was like, "Yeah, I'm like I love Mojo too." And they were talking about it, and I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, it's happening. Definitely a highlight of 2021.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's such a pat on the back, isn't it? Again, going back to like walking through a store and seeing your product on the shelf. It's just like, that's why I do it, man.
Yeah. It's that level of like pride, it's just like, I did that. And, it's making people's life a little bit better. Like, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Fist bump. Thanks for coming on the podcast. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you for having me. This has been so fun.